Close your eyes for a second. Imagine a woman standing on a track, heart pounding, lungs ready, eyes focused on nothing but the finish line. The gun fires, and what happens next changes history forever. We spend so much time talking about the men. Bolt, Kipchoge, Rudisha, their names are everywhere. Their records celebrated across the world. But today, we are not talking about them. Today belongs to the women who ran so fast. The records they set decades ago still haven't been touched. The women who ran so far that the word impossible lost all meaning. The women who looked at every limit ever placed on them and laughed. This is not just a video about world records. This is a video about what happens when a woman decides, truly decides, that she will not be stopped. From 100 meters of pure lightning to 24 hours of pure survival, this is their story, and it will change the way you think about running forever. And before we go any further, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now. Every single week, we bring you stories like this one. Stories of real athletes, real records, real human beings doing impossible things. You do not want to miss what is coming. Now, let's get into it. Let's begin at the very start. The shortest race, the fastest race, the race that separates legends from everyone else in under 11 seconds. The 100 meters. For most people on this planet, running 100 meters takes about 13, 14, maybe 15 seconds. The world record? 10.49 seconds. 10.49. Let that sink in. The woman behind that number is not just the fastest woman in history, she is one of the most iconic athletes the world has ever seen. Florence Griffith-Joyner, FloJo, July 16, 1988, Indianapolis, USA, the United States Olympic Trials. It was a warm evening. The stadium was electric, and FloJo stepped onto that track wearing her signature one-legged racing suit, her 6-inch painted nails, and an expression that said, "Nobody here can touch me." She was right. The gun fired. She exploded off the blocks with a power that looked more like a Ferrari launching than a human being running. Her arms pumped like pistons. Her legs turned over so fast the camera could barely track them. And then she crossed the line. 10.49 seconds. The previous world record was 10.76. She didn't just break it, she destroyed it by 0.27 of a second. In sprinting, that is not a gap. That is a gulf. That is a statement. That is one athlete operating in a completely different universe to everyone else on that track. And here is the part that will genuinely blow your mind. That run happened in 1988, 37 years ago. Since then, training has completely transformed. Shoes have been reinvented. Nutrition science has exploded. Athletes have access to technology FloJo could never have imagined. And yet, not one woman on this planet has run 100 meters faster than Florence Griffith-Joyner did that evening in Indianapolis. Not one. She won gold at the Seoul Olympics just months later, running 10.61 in front of the entire world. She was unstoppable. She was untouchable. She was unlike anything the sport had ever seen. And then, in 1998, at just 38 years old, Florence Griffith-Joyner passed away. The world lost a legend, but the record she left behind, that record is immortal. Florence Griffith-Joyner, 10.49 seconds, 1988, still standing, still untouched, still legendary. If you thought 10.49 was the end of FloJo's story, you are very, very wrong. Because the 100 meters was just the appetizer. The 200 meters was the main course. One full curve, one straight. The race where raw speed finally starts to meet real endurance. Your lungs begin to burn at 120 meters. Your legs start to question you at 150. Your mind screams at you to slow down at 180. The greatest athletes ignore all of that. They accelerate. September 29th, 1988, Seoul, South Korea, the Olympic Games. FloJo walked into the 200-meter final already carrying the 100-meter gold medal around her neck. Already a world record holder, already a legend, but she was not finished. She ran the curve with a smoothness that didn't look like effort, it looked like art. She hit the straight and shifted into a gear that nobody in that stadium had ever witnessed before. She crossed the line, 21.34 seconds. The crowd erupted. 21.34 for 200 meters. The average person takes 35 seconds. FloJo did it in 21. 2 world records, same woman, same year, same unstoppable force of nature. And just like the 100 meters, this record has never been broken. Not in 1995, not in 2005, not in 2015, not today. Florence Griffith-Joyner, 21.34 seconds. Seoul, 1988. 2 distances, 2 records, both untouched. She wasn't just the greatest female sprinter in history, she was the greatest sprinter, full stop. Hello champions! Now we arrive at the race that many coaches call the most physically demanding event in all of athletics. 1 full lap, 400 meters. It looks smooth from the outside, it feels like dying from the inside. Go out too fast in the first 200 and your legs turn to concrete before the finish line. Go out too slow and you can never recover the time you've lost. It demands perfect judgment, perfect execution, and a level of mental toughness that most athletes never develop. The woman who perfected it all? Marita Koch, East Germany. A name that should be spoken with the same reverence as Bolt, as Ali, as Jordan. October 6, 1985, Canberra, Australia, the World Cup of Athletics. Koch stepped onto that track already one of the most decorated sprinters the sport had ever seen. Multiple European champion, multiple world champion, a woman who had spent her entire career making the 400 meters look effortless. But what she did in Canberra that day was beyond anything she had ever done before. She went out hard, controlled, but hard. She hit the back straight with devastating rhythm. She came off the final bend with an acceleration that should have been impossible at that point in the race. And she drove through the finish line. 47.60 seconds. The stadium gasped. 47.60. That is 6.9 meters per second for 1 full lap of the track, without stopping, without slowing, without mercy. And here's the fact that makes this record one of the most extraordinary in all of sport. It has stood since 1985. 40 years. No woman, not one, in 4 decades has run a single lap of the track faster than Marita Koch did in Canberra on that October afternoon. She ran it without the carbon fiber super spikes athletes wear today, without altitude training camps, without sleep science, without biomechanics analysis, and she still holds the record. Marita Koch, 47.60 seconds, 1985. 40 years untouched, 40 years unbeaten, 40 years of greatness. Quick pause right here. If you are enjoying this video so far, and I know you are, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to this channel right now. We cover the greatest stories in running, world records, race breakdowns, athlete histories, every single week. If running moves you, this is exactly where you need to be. Now back to the records. 2 laps. That's all the 800 meters is. 2 laps of the track, just 800 meters. Sounds simple, sounds almost easy. It is the furthest thing from easy. Because the 800 meters is the race that lives in the most brutal no man's land in all of athletics. It is too long to sprint, too short to pace yourself, too fast for endurance runners, too far for pure sprinters. Every athlete who lines up for an 800-meter race knows one thing. This is going to hurt from the very first step to the very last. The woman who turned that pain into perfection, Jarmila Kratochvílová, Czechoslovakia, July 26, 1983, Munich, West Germany. Kratochvílová was not a subtle runner. She didn't hide in the pack. She didn't wait for the right moment. She went to the front, immediately. And she dared every single athlete on that track to come with her. Nobody could. She ran lap 1 with controlled, burning aggression. She hit lap 2 and instead of fading, the way every other athlete in the world would have faded, she held on. She gritted. She fought. She refused to slow down. And she crossed the line in 1 minute 53.28 seconds. 1:53.28. That record was set in 1983. Think about what existed in 1983. No internet, no smartphones, no GPS watches, no carbon plate shoes, no modern track surfaces. And that record, set in that era, has never been beaten. Not in the 90s, not in the 2000s, not in the 2010s, not today. It is the oldest world record in women's middle distance running, over 42 years old. Jarmila Kratochvílová, 1:53.28, Munich, 1983. The most stubborn record in the history of women's athletics. The 1,500 meters, the metric mile, the race of tactics, courage, and the most devastating finishing kicks in all of sport. You can be in last place with 300 meters to go and still win this race. You can be leading with 100 meters to go and still lose it. It is the most dramatic, unpredictable, electrifying race on the track. And right now, there is one woman who owns this distance more completely than anyone has ever owned any distance in history. Faith Kipyegon, Kenya, 3-time Olympic champion, the most decorated female middle distance runner in the history of the Olympic Games. September 2nd, 2023, Eugene, Oregon, USA. She ran 1,500 meters in 3 minutes 49.11 seconds. 3:49. To run that time, she had to average under 15.4 seconds per 100 meters for 15 consecutive 100-meter efforts, without resting, without slowing, without any drop in form or focus. Pure, relentless, machine-like precision for 3 minutes and 49 seconds. But she wasn't done. Just months earlier, June 2023, Florence, Italy, she ran the mile in 4 minutes 7.64. 2 world records, same woman, same year, 2 completely different distances, both absolutely obliterated. Faith Kipyegon, 3:49.11 for 1,500 meters, 4:07.64 for the mile. 2023, the greatest middle distance runner alive, and it isn't even close. Now we leave the short circuits behind. Now we enter the world of real endurance, the 5,000 meters. This is the distance where talent alone is not enough. You need patience. You need pacing intelligence. You need the ability to hurt and keep hurting and keep going while your body screams for mercy. The woman who made 5,000 meters look like an afternoon jog? Gudaf Tsegay of Ethiopia. February 17, 2022, Lahore, Pakistan. She ran 5,000 meters in 14 minutes 0.21 seconds. 14 minutes flat. That is 2 minutes 48 seconds per kilometer for 5 full kilometers. Most recreational runners cannot hold that pace for 1 kilometer. She held it for 5. And then the 10,000 meters. Double the distance, double the suffering, double the mental warfare. Your legs burning from kilometer 3. Your mind begging you to slow down from kilometer 6. Your lungs on fire from kilometer 8. But the greatest distance runners don't hear any of that. They hear only one thing, the sound of forward motion. Letesenbet Gidey of Ethiopia, June 8, 2021, Hengelo, Netherlands. She ran 10,000 meters in 29 minutes 1.03 seconds. She averaged 2 minutes 54 seconds per kilometer, 10 times in a row, with no variation, with no mercy. Gudaf Tsegay, Letesenbet Gidey, 2 Ethiopian women who have made the long-distance track events their personal kingdom. Now we leave the track. We step onto the open road, and everything changes. The half marathon, 21.1 kilometers. This is not a distance you can fake your way through. You cannot hide bad preparation in a half marathon. You cannot survive on talent alone for 21 consecutive kilometers. You either trained for it or you suffer for it. No exceptions. The woman who ran it faster than any woman in the history of the world? Letesenbet Gidey. Yes, the same woman who holds the 10K world record. April 2nd, 2024, Rotterdam, Netherlands. She ran 21.1 kilometers in 62 minutes 52 seconds, under 3 minutes per kilometer, for 21 consecutive kilometers. She didn't just break the world record that day. She broke it by over 1 full minute. In half marathon running, 1 minute is not a small gap. 1 minute is an era. 1 minute is the difference between good and legendary. Letesenbet Gidey didn't just step into that gap, she leapt over it. The 10K world record, the half marathon world record. Same woman, different distances, same result. Ethiopia's most complete long-distance runner, perhaps ever. We are halfway through the greatest female running records ever set on this planet. And if this video is hitting different, if you are feeling something right now, subscribe to this channel. Because next week, we are going even deeper into the world of elite running. Stories you have never heard, records that will shake you, athletes that will inspire you. Hit subscribe, you will not regret it. Now, the marathon. And now, we arrive at the distance that launched running as we know it. The distance that has inspired more humans to test themselves than any other event in the history of sport. The marathon, 42.195 kilometers. Named after the ancient Greek messenger Phidippides, who ran from the battlefield of Marathon to Athens, collapsed, delivered his message, and died. That is the distance you are about to hear a woman run in just over 2 hours. The marathon does not care about your reputation. It does not care about your training. It does not care about your dreams. The marathon has one rule: respect the distance, or it will break you. The current women's world record holder respected it perfectly. Ruth Chepngetich, Kenya, October 13, 2024, Chicago, USA. She stood on the start line of the Chicago Marathon as the favorite, as a former world record holder, as a woman who had dedicated years to reaching this single moment. And when the race started, she ran like someone who had been waiting her whole life to show the world what she was capable of. She ran the first half in perfect control. She ran the second half with devastating power. She came down the final stretch of Chicago with a clock above her showing something no woman had ever seen before. She crossed the finish line in 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 56 seconds. 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 56 seconds. The crowd lost their minds, because Ruth Chepngetich had just become the first woman in the history of the world to run a marathon in under 2 hours and 10 minutes. She ran each of the 42 kilometers at an average pace of 3 minutes and 4 seconds. Think about that. Most people cannot run a single kilometer in 3 minutes 4 seconds. She ran 42 of them, back to back to back, without stopping, without slowing. She obliterated the previous world record, set by Tigst Assefa in Berlin in 2023, by over 2 full minutes. In marathon running, 2 minutes is a lifetime. And here's the number that puts everything into perspective. The men's marathon world record is 2 hours, 0 minutes, 35 seconds. The women's record is 2 hours, 9 minutes, 56 seconds. The gap between the greatest male and greatest female marathon runner in all of human history? 9 minutes, 21 seconds. Over 42 kilometers, and that gap is closing every single year. Ruth Chepngetich, 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 56 seconds. Chicago, October 2024. History made. Limits shattered. The world watching. You would think, after the marathon, that we have reached the edge of human endurance. You would be wrong, because for some women, 42 kilometers is just the warm-up. Welcome to the ultra marathon, a world where the distances become so extreme that your brain struggles to process them, where races last not for hours, but for entire days, where the question is no longer how fast can you run, the question becomes, how much are you willing to endure? 50 kilometers. Neil Arts of Belgium ran 50 kilometers in 3 hours, 4 minutes, 32 seconds in 2024. 3 hours and 4 minutes for 50 kilometers at a pace of 3 minutes, 41 seconds per kilometer. But she didn't stop there. 100 kilometers. Neil Arts again, 2024. 6 hours, 33 minutes, 11 seconds. 6.5 hours of running. No stopping, no sitting down, no mercy. Just forward motion, step after step after step, for over 6 hours. And then 100 miles. 100 miles. 160 kilometers. The women's world record belongs to Camille Herron of the USA, 12 hours, 42 minutes, 40 seconds in 2023. Imagine waking up at 6 in the morning and running non-stop until almost 7 in the evening, through fatigue that would stop most people, through pain that would end most careers, through the voice in the mind that tells every runner at some point, this is enough, you can stop now. Camille Herron never stopped. And then the 24-hour race, not a distance, a time. You run for 24 straight hours. And the question is simply, how far can you go? Camille Herron, Albi, France, 2022. She ran for 24 hours and covered 270.116 kilometers. 270 kilometers in one day, without sleeping, without resting, without quitting, just running, breathing, moving forward for 24 straight hours. Camille Herron is not just an athlete. She is a different category of human being entirely. So now, let's stand back and look at everything we just witnessed. Florence Griffith-Joyner running 100 meters in 10.49 seconds, a record that has survived 37 years of challengers. Marita Koch running 400 meters in 47.60 seconds in 1985, a record that has outlived entire generations of athletes. Jarmila Kratochvílová running 800 meters in 1 minute 53.28 seconds in 1983, the most stubborn, most indestructible record in the history of women's athletics. Faith Kipyegon, breaking 2 world records in the same summer of 2023, the undisputed queen of the metric mile. Letesenbet Gidey, owning both the 10K and the half marathon, a runner with no ceiling and no limit. Ruth Chepngetich, running 42 kilometers in 2 hours, 9 minutes and 56 seconds, the first woman under 2 hours, 10 minutes, a moment the entire running world will never forget. And Camille Herron, running 270 kilometers in 24 hours, a woman operating in a dimension most of us will never visit. These women were all told, at some point, that what they were attempting was too much, too fast, too far, too hard, too ambitious. Every single one of them put on their shoes, stood on that start line, and ran anyway. That is what running is. Not the medal, not the world record, not the applause. Running is the courage to begin when everything inside you says stop. Running is the decision to keep going when quitting would be easier. Running is the daily choice, whether you're chasing a world record or just trying to finish your first kilometer, to move forward. Always forward. These women didn't just run fast. They gave every single person watching, every beginner struggling to reach the corner, every marathon runner doubting their preparation, every ultra runner staring down a 100-mile course in the dark. They gave all of us permission. Permission to believe that our limits are not where we think they are. Permission to go further, run harder, dream bigger. Because if a woman can run 270 kilometers in a single day, whatever you are facing tomorrow is absolutely within your reach. Now lace up. Your race is waiting. And before you go, if this video moved you, if these women inspired you, please subscribe to this channel. Drop a comment below and tell me which record shocked you the most. Which woman left you speechless? Every comment, every like, every subscription helps us tell more stories like this one. Stories that deserve to be heard. Stories of women who refused to stop. We will see you in the next one. Now go run.